Hey there, I'm Logan Ransley and I'm the co-founder of Landlord Studio. And in today's video, I'm going to go through the pros and the cons of using QuickBooks for your rental properties and explore some of the alternatives that are available on the market. Let's jump into it. So why do you need a cloud-based accounting platform for your rental properties anyway? Well, when it comes to the end of the tax year, it's super important that you're filing your taxes accurately and you're not overpaying or worse, underpaying your taxes to your local government. Now, making sure that you're tracking your income and expenses accurately for each individual property is super important for making this happen. Now, there's pros and cons for using QuickBooks, and sometimes this is very hard to do. Now, having a robust accounting system is great, and QuickBooks is one of the leading softwares on the market, and for good reason as well. Most accountants and CPAs do trust QuickBooks, and they use it themselves as their internal accounting software. But there's just some things that QuickBooks just can't do for your rental properties. So let's dive into these now. Now let's take a look at how you set up QuickBooks for rental properties. Now, because QuickBooks is designed as a general business accounting tool, the terminology is slightly different compared to rental real estate. So here's what you're going to need to remember. Products equals the income type for a specific property. The class equals properties. The subclass is a unit. The customer is a tenant. And then the chart of accounts are set up according to the Schedule E categories. So to get started, you need to set up your properties as classes, which basically allows you to assign an invoice or an expense to a specific class, therefore making it possible to track relevant payments or expenses to a specific property. If you have a multi-unit dwelling, you'll want to split each unit out into subclasses. This can get quite confusing because it's basically really important if you are looking to drill down into each of the data that you do analyze for each unit specifically. The next step is to set up your tenants as customers. Currently, there's no way to assign a customer to a specific class, which basically means when you generate an invoice, you'll have to search for the tenant manually, which is not actually very scalable or streamlined when you do have multiple properties, particularly if you're wanting to grow your portfolio over time. Thirdly, you'll need to set up products in QuickBooks to represent the rental income, late fees, pet fees, etc. And then finally, you'll need to set up your chart of accounts to be the same as the Schedule E categories. This allows you to categorize all transactions correctly for the end of the tax year, so that you can simply just print out a report and then do the Schedule E tax return nice and easy. After you've completed the setup, you're ready to start recording the income and expenses. So to log income against a specific property, you'll need to essentially set up an invoice, which can be done from the dashboard. We can then select our customer, in this case our tenant, and then go ahead and add the class, which is the particular property that this tenant is assigned to. We can check the invoice dates and then add the product and service, which is essentially rent for that particular unit or property. Uncheck the tax and then simply add in the amounts, and you'll be able to send the invoice from there. So to set up an expense on a particular property, I can do that from the dashboard here again. All I need to do is open that up. I can add the payee, which in this case could be a supplier, for my particular expense. I can then go and add my category or the chart of accounts, which I've set up for the Schedule E. Add my description for this particular expense, which in this case I could be advertising for my rental properties. Then add the amount field, $150. And then from here, I can then add the class, which in this case is the rental property that I'm allocating this expense towards. Now, a few important things to note. When you are running your reports on each individual property, you're going to have to set up filters that report just on the class function separately. Another thing to note is that if you're looking to record expenses like capital expenses, etc., you'll need to use what's called a subcategory for that particular expense. Now, both of these things can be complex, but it is doable. The other important thing to note is that classes are only available in the Plus and the Advanced plans of QuickBooks Online. This is slightly more expensive than the basic version of QuickBooks Online, but if you want to learn more about that, feel free to go to the QuickBooks pricing page on their website. And that's basically it. But the fact that you are watching this video is a pretty good indicator that you might be considering other options that might be available. The problem is that QuickBooks isn't designed for rental properties specifically. So the generic accounting features become more of a workaround rather than an automation and an answer to the workflow issues that you might have. Now, a QuickBooks account is designed for a single entity rather than each individual property. And in many tax jurisdictions, you actually have to report on each individual property at the end of the tax year. For example, on the Schedule E tax return form, you have 3 columns which reports on each individual property, the income and outgoings categorized by income and expenses. QuickBooks makes it hard to analyze and report on each individual property, therefore making this process really difficult to do. It also means that you can't analyze each individual property specifically from a financial point of view. And every real estate investor knows that understanding your numbers for each property is vital to long-term success. Now let's take a look at some of the pros and the cons of using QuickBooks for your rental properties. The first is bank reconciliation. QuickBooks allows you to reconcile transactions inside the software with actual transactions that happened in your bank account. This is key to making sure that your entire financial portfolio is accurate, and that in the case of an audit, you can essentially prove that this particular expense in QuickBooks actually matches up to an actual transaction. The next is digitizing the receipts. You don't want to keep paper receipts on file in the case of an audit. So QuickBooks makes this really easy because essentially you can use the app to scan that receipt into the QuickBooks product and match it up against a particular expense. And the final is reporting. You can essentially report on any class that you want. In the case of reporting on a particular property, you will need to use the class function or class filters to do this. However, if saving time is key for you and your rental business, then you'll also want to consider other features like tenant payable expenses, recurring expenses, capital expenses, late fees, and also you want a dashboard so that you can report on each particular property individually so that you can actually understand the nuances of what's going on inside your portfolio. So ultimately, QuickBooks is a fantastic accounting product for small businesses, but it just wasn't designed for all the intricacies of running a rental property business. So what is the alternative to QuickBooks? Well, Landlord Studio, for example, has been created by landlords like us for landlords like you. We're focused on the most important part of your rental property business, which is the finances. And then we've paired it with property management features such as workflow automation and lease automation and tracking. So now I'm going to show you a very short demo of Landlord Studio. We're going to focus on logging payments and expenses, bank reconciliation, digitizing receipts, and also the tenant automation and workflow functionality.
Getting set up is as easy as typing in your address. All you need to do is type it in, and Google does the rest. You can even add your mortgage and valuation information, or any other property details. Go ahead and tap Save, and you're done. Once your property is added, you're ready to start tracking your bookkeeping, leases, tenants, and documents. Setting up a lease can be done with our flexible range of tenancy options. You can choose from monthly, weekly, Airbnb, or other options. All you need to do is enter the commencement date, the rent amount, and the payment due date. You can even enable online rent collection. This will enable your tenants to pay you online. Go ahead, click Save, and you're done. Our powerful automation features will remind you and your tenant when important things are due. Things like email alerts can be set up, as well as optional fields for this lease too. Go ahead and select your tenants, either from a prospective or a new tenant. This can be done as simple as entering in their name and their email address and clicking Save. Once you've added the tenant, go ahead and continue, and then you're done. Now it's time to track your expenses. Say goodbye to manual spreadsheets and paper receipts. Our Smart Scan feature will import the information straight off your receipt and upload a digital copy for safekeeping. All you need to do is select the category and tap Save. That will upload the receipt and save it against this particular unit for safekeeping. And let's say you forgot to add your expense. You can simply use the secure bank integration to automatically import your bank transactions straight into the app so that you can then go in and reconcile them later on. Easy. Now, bookkeeping isn't useful unless you can analyze your cash flow in a simple, visual, and flexible way. That's why we have over 15 professional reports you can generate right from the app. Choose your properties, adjust any of the filters here, and then click Continue. That will create a report directly on your device. We also make it simple to send to your accountant or CPA. Tax time just became much easier. Now, Landlord Studio is the highest rated property management and rental accounting software on the market. And in August, Gartner even released a product report rating Landlord Studio as the most usable property management software on the market.
So I hope this video has been helpful for your understanding of the pros and cons of QuickBooks for your rental properties and what to look for in cloud-based accounting software. Whether it's QuickBooks or Landlord Studio, automation is key for scalability in your rental property business. So if you'd like to learn more about Landlord Studio, click the link in the description below. Come check us out. Until next time, hope you have a great day. Cheers.